Okay, have you ever heard anybody tell you that your skill set is in direct correlation with your paycheck? I know you don't want to hear it, but that is exactly where I was in 2021. So in 2021, I was sick with COVID, me and my husband. So me and my husband got sick with COVID. Our house went down to the point that we couldn't work. He was actually working in insurance and also was doing a remote technical support role, customer service role, making about $40,000. And then myself, I was working technical support for like a SaaS company. Now, we got sick and we got so sick that we did not know that if our house was going to survive this, right? Like we didn't have savings, we didn't have any of that. But in that moment, as I was trying to get better, I was just like, God, you pull me out of this, when you pull me out of this, I promise it will not be like this anymore. I didn't know what that I didn't know what that journey was going to be for me. So 8 months before getting sick with COVID, me and my husband, I actually learned about QA engineering. I started hearing about tech and getting into tech. And I was like, well, I'm actually kind of in tech, but I'm in customer service. At that time, I didn't realize that I undervalued my skill set. I undervalued who I had been up until this point. And you just may be undervaluing your skill set and your experience. Let me just tell you what I mean. So in technical support, I was debugging customer issues. I was writing standard operation procedures. I was replicating defects. I was collaborating with my different team members. All of these are skill sets that you need also in high-paid technical roles, but I was missing one thing: skill set. Your paycheck up until now is more than likely a direct correlation of your skill set. And so my skill sets were only giving me 40 and 50K remote opportunities. Yes, I was remote, but those opportunities, I mean, if anything, they could barely pay rent, right? Nowadays, rent is an average of $1,800 to $2,000, and that's just for like a one bedroom. And so my skill set wasn't growing, so my paycheck wasn't growing. And so every time I got in the market, I was like, man, there's no jobs. But instead of me saying that there's no longer any jobs, I had to look and see, where was my skill set? See, the level of your skill set is closing you off for more opportunities. So when you are in the job market and you see massive layoffs and things of that nature, that's going to be an up and down markets regardless. But if you have the skill set, there are still opportunities from a remote perspective, from a hybrid perspective, and from an on-site perspective, all right? So that you can still keep your lifestyle and your income and your salary and fund your dreams and your goals. Here I am sitting with this 40K, 50K skill set, and it's barely paying rent. So I knew I had to do something different. So in 2021, after being sick with COVID, me and my husband, now I was still getting over COVID from January, but by March, I had went back to that QA engineer information, and within 90 days, I landed my first yes. I jumped from $40,000 to $80,000 remote. That was a huge life change. That skill set jump, and today I can say that it was because of the work I put in. If I wouldn't have never made a adjustment to my skill set, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have helped over 200 people do the same. And a lot of you guys are sitting on low skill sets, and that's why your paycheck is low. Because when you have a higher level of skill set, you have a higher level of value in demanding skills that the market wants. Many of you are sitting on skills that, yes, AI is easily replacing, all right? Or you're sitting on skills that have not been upskilled or upgraded. You have to be willing to continue to upskill yourself so that you can make more money. Right, that's where the value is. So when we look at the world of AI and automation, we say that it's taking and replacing jobs. What does that really mean, right? Is it that no opportunities are available? No, it's not. It's just that the opportunities are shifting in responsibility, and most of us don't have the right skill set. All right. So if you want to make more money going into 2026 and beyond, you have to upgrade your skill set. Your skill set equals your paycheck. So from 2021 I was able to not only increase my income, but then I secured multiple roles. And not one, not two, three, four, five in a year. Then from there, I helped my husband, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my best friend all get their first yes. Now, 2021, this is how that one yes and that skill set changed. Not only did it change my life, but it allowed me to shift the trajectory of my family, because now I have my best friend, my cousin, my brother, my husband, my sister-in-law. They're all now on a different trajectory, and now they're even being able to still be in this economy, in this market, and still have their skill set. And so I want to talk to you more about the fact that a lot of times we focus too much on the massive layoffs when they come. They're going to happen in the economy. And I think we focus more on that and less on the fact that if you have a skill set, you can go somewhere else. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times a person will see me and say, oh, but you have this program, you're an entrepreneur too, and you make money from your business. I do. However, if you take away my business, I have my six-figure skill set now, not a $40,000 skill set. I'm worth more. And in that time, my skill set went from getting my first yes of 80K, then it went to 160. Then I had multiple. Now, instead of working multiple jobs just to get 140K, I have the level of a skill set to earn anywhere to 140 to 200K in one positioning. Skill set matters. So if you are going into 2026 and you have not upgraded your skill set, or if you're saying you're seeing all these different jobs laying off, you worry about skill set, because when you have your skill set, you can take your skill and go somewhere else. All right. And to be perfectly honest, I've never worked for fame companies like, Facebook and Twitter and things of that nature. And I still can make good income because my skill set allows me to go somewhere else. So in 2026, let's focus on skill set. Now, from my skill set in 2021, I was able to help my family. I had multiple offers. And then this is when I launched essentially a version of my company that I didn't know. I thought it was going to be a little side hustle. But I launched a little ebook version of my company today, Road to QA, that's helped over 200 people get their first yes in tech. And from that ebook, I started having people land jobs that I didn't even know. So from that, we then decided to start doing monthly calls, weekly calls. Then it grew into practical learning. Then it grew into an internship. Then it grew into interview prep. Then it grew into my team being able to support for resumes on LinkedIn. So the important thing about this is to worry about where you are now and how can you take one step to a higher level of skill set. So most of you guys are sitting on, you have customer service, you have technical support, but you don't have the testing tool knowledge and the core foundations of a new role where you're going. So if you want to be able to make more money into 2026, we want you to be at a higher level of skill set. If you want me to show you how to go from customer support, technical support, whatever your background or experience is, into your first yes in tech, which I believe is the simplest way, by becoming a QA engineer, go ahead and comment free, and me and my team will send you a link to my 60-minute masterclass training. So once you have the actual skill set, it's time for you to be able to now add this on your project. So maybe you need to do a practical project, something hands-on, create a GitHub portfolio. These are all of the things you've got to do. The next thing you're actually going to do is now you have to be able to tell your authentic career story. And this means that you need to be able to formulate a career story so when you're in an interview that you don't come off as a newbie. Now remember, a lot of times when we have these new skill sets, we say, oh, I haven't had that job title yet, I'm pursuing this. So you get into the market like a newbie. Well, when you get into the market like a newbie, you're essentially asking them to give you a chance. Do you think a Fortune 500 company wants to just give you a chance and you've never done this before or shown any experience? No. And this is exactly why in our program we have practical labs and we also have hands-on internship where we put you in a day in life. So when you get into the market, you're not a newbie anymore. Okay? When you get to the market, you've already done it. Now you're just improving your skill set. You can authentically speak to your experience. And so you have to get the skill set and the core foundations of any, industry that you're moving into. You have to be able to update and upgrade your resume and show maybe practical labs and experience. You got to be able to speak to your experience. You have to be able to understand. You have to be able to speak to your experience. You have to be able to articulate how you would do something, why you would do something, or give an example of how you resolve something. When you're going into your first tech role, one of the biggest accomplishments that you can list on your resume is how you solved a problem for a business, how you solved a problem for your most recent company, how you improve, team training, how you improve KPIs, how you implemented a new process. If you've done this at any of your jobs, those are accomplishments. So how did that help the business? How did it help it grow? How did it increase the income for the company? A lot of you guys are coming into the industry and you're coming with your new skill set as a newbie because you haven't gained practical application of what you learned. Or you're just reading and saying, okay, I understand this, but you can't articulate it. You haven't put your hands on it, so you're not showing up confident. So a part of skill set, you have to have some hands-on learning. And then on top of that, you have to be able to articulate it and be able to speak to, your knowledge, how you're familiar to something, exposed, but most importantly, your actual experience. And there is a way, if you haven't been able to get actual experience in something. Let me give you an example. There is times that as a QA engineer, you might be hired to do front-end testing, but not back-end testing. We'll go into that in another video. So if you don't have that experience because authentically on your project or in that last job, you didn't have to do that type of responsibility, you don't have that experience. Now, what you can speak to is what you have done and how it's related. What you can speak to is your understanding of it. What you can speak to is a project that you implemented, although you did not have that direct experience with the company. We're going into these interviews with our skill set, but we're going into these interviews like a newbie. You cannot get into the market with your new skill set and get into the market like a newbie, AKA what they like to call entry level. Most of you guys are getting into the market trying to play it safe, saying I want an entry level role. Stop looking and comparing yourself with someone with years of experience and saying I'm entry level. Focus on your level of skill and competency. What is your skill level, your experience level, all right? Because you can have someone who's been doing something for 10 years the same way, but then you could come in and do it and go deeper in that skill set and actually be better than that person. Do you get that? I don't know if that was a takeaway for anybody. You can actually have someone that's been doing something for 10 years, but you come in and you do it for 1 year or 6 months, even 90 days, and I'm going to say 1 year, and you've been doing it for 1 year and you go deeper than that person. And so when I say deeper, we're going to say deeper on the skill set. You can have someone that's been doing it one way to a basic level, but then in 6 months to a year, you actually learn and apply that skill practically at a deeper level, and you actually have the same experience. Now you just have to be able to translate your skill and level of competency that you can do that job. Most of you guys are learning things and you're getting into the market as an entry level with your skill set. No, learn the thing and be able to articulate how you're going to do the job, be able to articulate your level of skill and competency, all right? If that job is asking you for a proficiency skill level, if you have spent hours, 10,000 hours and everything, you probably are proficient. But I want you to stop comparing yourself to the person who has many years of experience and focus on how can you actually do the job? What is your level? Are you basic, intermediate? Are you proficient, right? What is that, all right? That's just like, let's just say if I started learning Spanish. You can have someone who learned Spanish and they went from English to Spanish, right? And they've been speaking Spanish for 5 years. They're going to have a lot of learning, right? And they may be able to spin it backwards, forwards, and everything. However, you could still come in a year and focus on that, and you still can speak Spanish the same way that they do, right? For me, I have a Chicago, Atlanta accent from time to time, a little country there. And for me, it could be a little hard, but if I practice it over and over, right? Again, maybe one day I'll get there. If I practice it over and over, I may be able to speak Spanish just as fluent as that next person. The only difference is they've been doing it for 5 years. The difference for me is I've spent time and practiced in it, so I still have the level of I still had a great level of translation and communication switching from English to Spanish. Is that making sense? I hope this makes sense. So if you are going into 2026, I want you to really look at your skills. Write down all of your skills. Go through all of your past jobs and say, what have I done at each job? What is my level of skill? And go look at a job that you want and say, from the job that I want and from who I've been for the last 5 to 8 years, what are the gaps? Now, how do I go and I close those gaps and get a level of competency or skill level in where I want, what I want to pursue? Now you'll be able to see the vision on how you could take your income, just like I did, from 40K to 80K, from 80K to 160K, because now you're growing in your skill set. So I hope this was helpful for you. Remember, in 2026 and beyond, your paycheck is a direct correlation of your skill set. And if you want me to teach you a new skill, go ahead and comment free, and we'll see you in my free masterclass. I'll see you soon.